the Bigsby. Why do I love this more than other tremolo systems? It kind of forces you to be subtle. It doesn't have a very wide vibrato, so even like a wide motion with your hand tends to be a subtle vibrato. Let's talk a little bit about the mechanics and then we'll get into using it. First of all, the spring, 9 times out of 10, it's great. The tension feels awesome. But you can mess with this spring. You can get different tensions. They're not all exactly the same. So if you have a good guitar tech or you have a good hardware store, you can go and experiment with these springs and switching them out and see. You might like it a little slinkier, a little stiffer, whatever you dig. All right, the bridge. I'm a little snobby about the bridge. I know they make tunematic bridges, floating bridges for the Bigsby. You know, you can get the intonation just perfect. But so much tone comes from the bridge. All right, so much. I actually bought one for this guitar not too long ago and switched it out, and it immediately died tone-wise. So getting this kind of big old fat metal bar bridge is going to be best. I also found that the Bigsby slides over it a lot easier than the tunematic bridges. You can use graphite in here. You could use graphite up here on the nut to make sure it doesn't stick. So every time you change the strings, the easiest, cheapest thing to do is just rub pencil lead in between the little slots of the of your nut up here, and you can even rub it underneath the string. This way it's going to slide really nice. If you're still having a problem, then you might need to get the nut recut or have a guitar repair person take a look at that and just recut a nut where the strings can slide freely, and when you're using the Bigsby, nothing gets stuck and stays out of tune. All right, so that's a little bit of the mechanics. How do we use this thing? Well, it seems obvious, right? You just wiggle it around and you get tremolo. Well, there's a lot more you can do with it than just that. First of all, you have about a half-step dip in either direction. That's what you're limited to, which is a good thing, in my opinion, as far as the bend goes. With vibrato, you can do a slow vibrato. You can do a fast vibrato. You can do a slow to fast. You can do a wide vibrato, a tight vibrato. There's a million variations. You could also do something called rhythmic vibrato, where you're actually picking a rhythm and doing vibrato in time. So say you had eighth notes, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and you can experiment with different rhythms, and you could change it out. You can make it as complicated as you want, as simple as you want. You could have eighth notes into triplets, a set of triplets into eighth notes. They're all going to make it just sound more interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit about using the vibrato melodically. We talked about the half-step dips in either direction. So if you have a chord or a single note that you're fretting that's a half step away, why not use the Bigsby? So say if I have, a Django lick like okay, that's just a really cliche kind of Django guitar riff that you hear a lot in swing, and it's all just dancing around chord tones. So, well, rather than playing this note down here, why don't I bend down to it? That's a pretty cool sound. What does it sound like if I play this note with the Bigsby? It's also a cool sound. I could do this with double stops too. Maybe instead of sliding into a double stop, I can depress the Bigsby and bend into a double stop. Sorry about that. I could also do, say, a half step from above approach. So maybe take this and play a half step higher. So, and fall down. Okay? So a lot of different things you could do with this melodically. let's talk about one more trick you can use the Bigsby for, and that's the Eddie Cochran trick. And that's to do some low E dips and bring your left hand across. This is too hard to do with fretting and trying to push down as you're trying to pick the guitar. So what you do is you bring your hand across, you dip that low E down to an E flat, and then you pluck. And that's that classic line from Summertime Blues. If you don't have a Bigsby on your guitar, you could always do it with the tuner. All right, so hopefully that gives you some different ways of looking at the Bigsby, some different ways of how to use it. One more thing I didn't talk about that I really want to address, and this is really cool. I'm glad I remembered this. All right, taking this out of a chord shape. Setzer does this a lot, and it sounds great. Out of a chord shape, playing just 2 strings at a time, and using the Bigsby to kind of dip in and out of the double stop. Great sound. And of course, you could do that with any chord shape. All right, like I said, I hope this is inspiring. It gets you to spend a little bit more time with the Bigsby and not treat it just as a vibrato bar, but also use it melodically and try to change up some of the licks that you've been playing fretted for a long time. Get some more color in them by using the Bigsby to kind of bend into the notes rather than fretting them. Let's move into our next concept.